Please welcome with a big round of applause, Andrew Wytalk.
Thanks, Chris.
Nice to have you. Andrew,
Thank you.
Why talk? Why not?
Why talk?
Right?
Why not? Yeah.
There we go. Your
Brilliant.
presenter's right there.
Thanks, Chris. Hi, everybody. Do you want to come and sit down? Come on, it's been a long day. Come and rest your legs. Come on, I don't mind. I don't mind if you walk out halfway through either, as you don't have to stay till the end. Come and sit down. So, I'm Andrew. Welcome to my presentation on digitalization in the pharmaceutical industry. As you can see, Siemens is talking about digitalization and through the stand, and we want to give you some nice concrete examples, explain a little bit about what's going on in the pharmaceutical industry, and what about the pharmaceutical plant of the future. My name's Andrew Wytalk, so I'm based in our Competence Center for Pharmaceutical Industry in the south of Germany. So what we do is we work with our global customers on innovative concepts, initiatives to try and bring them solutions, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later. First of all, how many of you have experience of the pharma industry? Probably not so many, right? You're here to learn. So what I'm trying to do here is give you a little bit of an overview of the 3 different steps of the pharma. So first, the discovery process. Discovering a molecule, it's a very iterative process, lots of collaboration, lots of information, goes from the discovery to large-scale clinical trials. Secondly, we manufacture, in a primary process, we manufacture the drug substance, or the API, the active pharmaceutical ingredient. And then thirdly, these active pharmaceutical ingredients are put into pills, into tablets, into syringes, or into bottles. The challenges of our industry are the same and similar to many other industries. The idea of efficiency and operational excellence is key in pharma, perhaps not as key as other industries, but we're seeing more requirements around that. There's also the idea of flexibility, being able to bring a batch size down to 1. Really seriously being able to do 1, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Market faster, time to market, development to manufacturing. You know the time it takes to develop a drug? 6, 7, 8 years of development, of research, before they can even start to think about the commercial manufacture. It's a very, very long discovery process, and this time to market, if we can decrease that, that really will help. Do you guys want to come and sit down? Come and sit down. Come and rest your legs. It's no problem at all. Okay, and then finally, my 4th point there is quality. Of course, if they do not produce a drug to the right quality, then they will not be allowed to sell it. There are highly regulated, there are bodies that are regulating the production of drugs and making sure that they are done properly. So how's technology driving that change? Technology is driving the change through a number of different parts. The main parts, which I talk about in a minute, are continuous manufacturing, paperless manufacturing. These are very key, and I'll get into detail in a few secs. 3D printing, we're seeing the first tablets that are being printed 3D. And this can actually meet, and the reason being that they dissolve in your mouth a lot more quickly because of the way that they're constituted. But what could be coming, we could be seeing in the future, is a return to where you have like a printer, 3D printer in every pharmacy, where you go in and you ask for your own individualized medication and they print it out. This is not something we're doing today, but this is certainly something that we're seeing our customers starting to think about in terms of changes in the way they deliver their drugs to their customers, right? We then think about analytics, big data, we think about simulation across the material, across the plant, so on and so forth, and then all about also robotics. So really, when we look at and there's a great video which we show down on our highlight cube, which really gives examples about how robotics are being used to manufacture these individualized medicines or individualized vaccines. Getting that technology, using those trends to really transform the industry, translates into these 4 key areas. Very quickly, distinctiveness technologically for a plant, being able to change the plant, the way that the plant works, through very different processes, through continuous, through so forth. Network sophistication is about the complexity of a very global network of contract manufacturers, of suppliers, third party, where there's a very complex process, and really tracking the information across that, including serialization, for example, means the network has to be traced, and we have to make sure that the drugs come from the right source. Yeah? And finally, the one that I think is most interesting and something which we see in the fair in general and we see on our stand too is about labor modernization, is the way that we get our operators to interact with technology. Because in pharma, we will always need people to be doing the verification. The sizes of the batch are often quite small or comparatively small. We're often doing it in batches, so not continuously. And there's a lot of requirements around making sure that we gather the right data to be able to make sure we know how we've produced the drug. So these transformation points are really important, and labor modernization I'll talk about in a few minutes. What I want to go into now is a few different examples. So in some of these concepts that we're working with some of our customers. The first one is an example is paperless manufacturing. We're doing this at in different levels, over 100 sites around the world. But pure paperless manufacturing is something we've been doing on a few sites where we really take the paper out of the process. What does that mean, taking the paper? When I was alluding to earlier, when you're working on a document or something like this, here comes the doctor now. You come to pull some medicine for me? Okay, thanks for the interruption. Anyway, so you have a lot of paper in your process, meaning that they're recording each and every single detail of the production process, and that can be 400 to 500 pages per document, yeah? Per batch, sorry. When you think about the way that in which you're going to actually review that documentation, that can take a lot of time. So what we do is we provide tools which allow us to guide the recording of the data. The data is recorded consistently and accurately. Data is recovered from other sources, and so from there, what we're able to do is actually review by exception and integrate the manual and automated operations. When I think about the integration, what does that mean? It's about integrating the recipe, the workflow, the way that the HMI, the human-machine interface, meaning how they will look at the data, and then the deviations and the appendices, as I just mentioned, in terms of a centralized reporting. Paperless manufacturing is a real key trend in the pharma industry, and something that Siemens is really accompanying our customers with our manufacturing systems to save time in engineering, to improve the guidance and control, and bring down these review times. Okay, continuous manufacturing. What's so special about or so complicated about continuous manufacturing in the pharmaceutical industry? Please come and sit down. Be very welcome. Huh? So one of the key things is really feeding in different raw materials, which can be very expensive, but also very different consistencies, making sure that they blend in the right way, so that when I come out with the individual tablet, I'm actually able to know exactly that the tablet is consistent and conformed. The challenge, and the way I think to illustrate this example, is imagine you're mixing sugar with salt, with flour. When you mix different products, you need to make sure that they mix really properly, you need to go through a large number of checks. And what we do is these NIRs, or near-infrared sensors, are used to look inside and actually have an understanding and check and measure the consistency on a basis on which they actually are conformed, right? So this is, and then the NIR, is using the process analytical technology to really get an understanding of what's going on inside the process. Okay, cool. Any questions? It's okay, you understand? Okay, great. A third part, and we have a really good example here because we have a bioreactor in our stand, so a single-use bioreactor. Being able to have the flexibility to do single-use manufacturing. What does that mean, single-use manufacturing? So the idea of single-use is that they're actually, well, the challenge in biomanufacturing, I should say, is actually often around the contamination. If the product gets contaminated, this batch could cost millions, and so there are a lot of controls that are put in place to do the cleaning. The cleaning can be reduced by actually only using the unit once. It's a little bit like in your kitchen, where you may have a bin. I guess most of you have a bin in your kitchen. You don't change the bin every time. You've got the rubbish. You don't clean the bin every time. You have a plastic bag. You put the rubbish in the bag, and then you throw that bag away, right? So it's the same principle. However, the setup time is often very complex, and what we show on our Pharma Highlight Cube is how that the setup can be and the changeover times can be reduced, and the flexibility can be put through our manufacturing system, which is guiding the operator to set these things up. Can I get some water, please? Is it possible to get some water, please? Thanks. The next case study is the idea of intelligent immersive manufacturing. So IIM, or Intelligent Immersive Manufacturing, is a project, a real project we've been working on in the UK. It's really about getting the operator to interact with the data. What the UK company is, GSK, large pharmaceutical company, are demonstrating what they call the art of the possible. I don't know if you're familiar with this term, the art of the possible, but what's really possible with today's technology, and how could that actually really transform the way that an operator may or may not work within his manufacturing environment? Cheers, thanks very much. So the way that they're doing that is by providing information to the operator through our XHQ system, which you may have heard about or seen about. Very great dashboard here that they've picked up to really show the progress of a batch. But it's not just about that. There's lots of other really cool uses of technology. One of them is being able to use biometrics to be able to, when they walk up to the operator screen, rather than having to log in every time, they actually walks up, it recognizes who they are from their location and their body makeup, and they're ready to do their recording of information directly. Then don't even need to do recording of information. There's gesture control, voice control, to be able to do the operating and keep their hands on the manufacturing, perhaps. The challenges have been around reducing the manual interventions and the complexity for the operator to make their job actually easier. So using digitalization tools, and Siemens has been a big partner in this project to be able to do that. My final example, and just give me a second while I take my individualized water, is the example of personalized medicine. We have a customer in Germany called BioNTech who came to us with the problem that they are producing individualized vaccines against cancer. So the point is that they are a customer or a patient may have cancer, maybe requires for the cancer not to come back, they will go for an individualized vaccine based on the individual makeup of the patient. We extract based on that. There's a very complex manufacturing process. Then a few months later, that individualized vaccine is taken and injected back into the patient, and hopefully, normally, the cancer will not come back again. So an individualized vaccine, the challenge there is when you're producing one batch, you can have a shopping trolley full of paper. So they've had to think about using electronic systems just right from the very beginning regarding the use of the information. They've had to think about scheduling using all these very complex robotics, using the complex different systems that there are to be able to bring that data together to be able to really have a control and understanding of this very complex and very costly process. The cost of an individualized medicine is tens of thousands of pounds or euros or dollars or whatever. That's not necessarily viable today. They need to bring that cost down, and that's where we're helping them to do that as we move through the process with them. So that's pretty much a few examples, only a few. Please come and see us in the Pharma Highlight Cube. It's about 2/3 of the way down the room, down the hall, sorry. Showing down there, and as I've just explained, a few of these different examples of these real tangible examples around digitalization in pharma. So integrated engineering, paperless, continuous, flexible, so on and so forth. So I hope that's been of interest to you. I think that it's a really exciting and interesting topic, and really hope that you want to come down and see a little bit more. And on that note, thank you very much for your time and for your interest.
Thank you very much, Andrew Whiteheart.